At 2:46 on Friday the 11th of March, Japan experienced its most powerful earthquake for 1,000 years. A magnitude 9 quake shattered the land. Then a huge tsunami engulfed it. Overnight, fires raged across a sea-flooded wasteland. Oil from factories and gas from ruptured lines set hundreds of square kilometers of debris ablaze. In Tokyo, the train system was paralyzed. Millions bedded down in offices and waited for dawn. Meanwhile, the tsunami wave was still spreading across the ocean at 800 kilometers an hour. Countries all around the Pacific Rim were watching the situation nervously. In Hawaii, the Tsunami Warning Center was on full alert.
Very quickly we realized that this was basically the first big ocean-crossing tsunami that had happened in 40 years.
Frantically, they were trying to work out when and where the wave would strike next.
At that point, we went to a Pacific-wide warning, which means another message, and now lots and lots of phone calls.
State warning point. This is the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center.
Hawaii issued an evacuation alert. People headed to higher ground. The wave that hit was 1 meter high. It caused damage, but thankfully the distance had weakened the wave. This time, no lives were lost. With the wave now fading, countries around the Pacific downgraded their alerts. But Japan awoke to a nightmare. Different parts of the shoreline had suffered different effects. Channel 4 journalist Callum McRae set off along the Japanese coast to compare the levels of destruction and discover how far-reaching the damage of the tsunami was. He was the first journalist to reach the isolated mountain community of Kahoku.
We're up in the mountains, 8 kilometers from the coast. And what's happened here is that the tsunami has created a huge surge which has climbed all the way up the river and then flooded here.
Amazingly, this lake of seawater is meters above sea level.
この裏にね、川があるんですよ。排水堀ってね。それで、通常はね、ほとんど水がないくらいなんですよ。通常は。ところが、津波もね、1波目は来なかったけど、2波目あたりからやっぱり登り始めて、ね、夜のうちに登ったんだね。そして夜のうちに登ってきてね、知らないっているうちにもうここに水に乗っていたわけです。次の日からね。それからずっと引かないでそのままなってんだね。もう私たちも先代からここに住んでいないともうないの。私だけでも70年なんだけど、こういうこと初めて。70年以上なんだけどね。初めてだね、こういうこと。
The locals here fear that as the waters recede, it will expose bodies swept all the way up from the coast. Traveling north, at first the town of Ofanatu seemed untouched.
Look over there, those houses look undamaged. They've got power and everything here. It's just so strange.
Closer to the shore, it was a different story.
And as if Ofanatu didn't have enough problems, scientists reckon that this whole area, this region, has subsided well over a meter. And in the next couple of days, the region is also expecting the highest tides of the year. The sea is some 500 meters down there, and yet up here we have this. It's a remarkable sight by any standards, a huge tug which has been brought all the way up here by the tsunami. And what's remarkable about it, or what's even more remarkable about it, is that what it says about the size of the tsunami. Because the Japan Meteorological Center have just produced provisional estimates saying that the tsunami that hit this region was about 3.5 meters high. Now we're 7-8 meters above sea level here, and even given the surge, the fact that it could bring that all the way up here does suggest that the tsunami here was a lot higher than 3.5 meters.
Even amidst such chaos, this seems strange. Boats, trucks and cars were dumped on top of buildings, much higher than the recorded height of the wave.
That happens because as the water's pushing through restricted areas like the streets of towns and villages, it's being effectively funneled. And the water's got to go somewhere, and so it goes up as it's squeezed and funneled and pushes material, pushes cars onto roofs, sometimes as high as 50 feet. So in areas, the impact of this will be even greater, particularly where you get narrow streets.
Once the wave starts to pick up part of a town, the warehouses along the dock, the debris and all that, then it becomes more like a glacier. You know, it's a moving wall of debris, and the more mass it has, the more power it has as it comes in. It doesn't really look like water beyond some point. It looks like the entire town is flowing in, and it is. So all the mass of all the buildings, cars, refrigerators, and everything that's in that wall, it's essentially a debris glacier at that point, and it just keeps coming in.
This is Minami Sanriku, a town that was wiped off the map. "95% of the buildings destroyed. Over 10,000 people, half the population missing.
This place, Minami Sanriku, probably symbolizes the tragedy more than anywhere. An entire town wiped out by the force of nature.
It's almost difficult to imagine one's thoughts as one sees this coming towards you. And as it hits the coast, it's then picking up all the debris, it's picking up buildings, cars and things, and you then end up with this sort of really quite horrific mass moving through towns, villages, across fields, causing complete destruction.
I mean, it would be bad enough if it was only water, but because it's full of cars and you can't swim against it or flow with it or do anything, you're just like in front of a bulldozer of moving the entire town.
It's funny that when you hear that sound of an ambulance, it kind of actually gives you hope that they might have found somebody alive. Although that must be happening fewer and fewer times between. Anyone who did survive and was trapped would almost certainly have died of hypothermia by now.
At the town of Rikuzen Takata, rescue workers hunt for survivors and discover the dead.
When they find a body, they put a large stick in the ground with a flag attached to it so that it can be recovered later. It's a fairly gruesome and sad task. In fact, they're not just collecting bodies, they're also collecting personal mementos as well, which they find. Like this. afraid what we have here is more bodies waiting to be taken away.
Even now, the tsunami was not finished with Japan. Back at the Fukushima power plant, what started as a failed generator was fast becoming the biggest nuclear crisis since Chernobyl.
We'll keep the windows closed and I'll put on a mask.